It's because I can't do it right now because I got homework for physics and Spanish, but I was thinking about doing it tomorrow.
For sure.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so the first, the top is all about negative and zero exponents. Just remember, here are the general rules. If you have anything to the zero power, the answer is always 1. If you have a negative exponent, you flip it and it becomes positive. So what do I mean by flipping it? So look at letter A, 6 to the negative 2. Since it's a negative exponent, this will be 1 over 6 squared. And then now you just work that out. So it's 1 over 36. So what's really happening here? When you have a negative exponent, if it's on the top, it goes to the bottom. If it's on the bottom, it goes to the top. Now look at letter B and letter C. Anything to the zero power is 1. Remember, with negative x, if you have a negative in front, then that means using PEMDAS, you do 5 to the 0 first, that's 1. And so you put the negative after, that's negative 1. Letter C was a heavily missed question on the homework. A lot of people put 1. It's negative 1. Now look at letter, I'm going to skip D. Look at letter E. This one is 1 because the negative is inside the parentheses. So it says take negative 6 to the 0 power. That's 1. But look at the difference between C and E, right? C, you take the negative after. Now letter D, I have a negative exponent on the bottom. So that means this time, this is going to flip to the top. So this just becomes 4 to the third because now it's on the top. There's no bottom anymore, all right? So this is going to be 4 to the third is 4 times 4 times 4, and that's 64. So let's go ahead and do number 2. Number 2 is all about the exponent rules. I think number 2 is probably the one that a lot of people have difficulty with, seeing your homework. A lot of people did well on the homework that was due yesterday. A lot of people did well on the Wednesday, Thursday homework. But a lot of you messed up on the first homework assignment. So the first, if you're dividing exponents, all you do is you just subtract the exponents. So this should just be x to the 6th. Letter B was a heavily missed question on the homework. I have a negative exponent. That means I'm going to flip it. But don't flip the 6. You see here how 6 does not have the negative exponent? So this will just become 6 over x to the third. So the x to the third gets flipped. The 6 does not. It does not have a negative exponent. C should be a really simple problem. If you are multiplying, you just add the exponents. So 5 plus 7 is 12. D, once again, this was a heavily missed question on the homework. This 2 needs to go into each of these things here. Whoops. So this will become 4 squared, x squared, y squared. I saw a lot of people, for their answer on the homework, did the 4 and the 2 and made it an 8. It's not an 8. It's not 4 times 2. It's 4 squared. So the answer here should be 16 x squared, y squared. Okay. When you bring that 2 in, it's an exponent of 2, not 4 times 2. Letter E, I subtract the exponents. 4 minus 9. Always it's top minus bottom, not bigger number minus smaller number. So 4 minus 9 is negative 5. And then since I have that negative number, I flip it. So it's 1 over m to the 5th. Remember, negative exponents you flip. F should be really simple. Remember, we also went over this in 2 days ago lecture. If it's a power to a power, I just multiply. So 0 times 4 is 0, and anything to the 0 power is 1. Letter G, same idea as letter D. Bring the exponent, bring the exponent, and bring the exponent to every single variable in there. So this will become a to the 6. Remember, negative times negative is positive. B to the 12. C to the negative 3. And then you're not done here because you have a negative exponent. Negative exponents mean you have to bring it down to the bottom. So this would be a to the 6th, b to the 12th, all over c to the 3rd. Only negative exponents get flipped. Letter H was also a heavily missed question on the homework. When you have this 2 is actually going to go to every single thing here. So it will become 2 squared, x to the 4th, 5 squared, y to the 8th. It has to go into every single thing there. And remember, it's 2 squared, 5 squared. Once again, on the homework, a lot of people didn't do the exponent, they just multiplied. So this would be 4x to the 4th, 25 y to the 8th. Not 10. It's not multiplication. It's 5 squared. Okay, so now let's go for letter I. So for letter I, the exponent will go into each of these things here. So this will be 3 to the negative 2, x to the negative 2. And then what we are going to do is we are going to flip both of them since they have negative exponents. So this will become 1 over 3 squared x squared. Which is just 1 over 9x squared. And then letter J is just like letter H. All of these will get distributed. So this will be 3 to the negative 3, x to the negative 9, 4 to the negative 3, y to the negative 6. And once again, if anyone has questions, just go ahead and type it in the chat. So they're all negative exponents, so they're all going to flip. The ones on the top go to the bottom. The ones on the bottom go to the top. So this would be 4 to the 3rd, y to the 6th, all over 3 to the 3rd, x to the 9th. 4 to the 3rd is 4 times 4 times 4. That is 64. And 3 to the 3rd is 27. So I'm actually going to skip 3 for now, and I'm going to go to 4 first. Okay. So hopefully you have all of that. Number 4, remember from the homework that if you have a fraction exponent, you change it to a radical, like that, right? So those two things mean the same thing. So I have x over x to the a over b power is the same thing as the b root of x to the a. Now, one thing before we move on here, remember that if you have a denominator of 2, so let's say I have x to the 7 over 2, and I rewrite it into radical form, remember that you do not put the 2 here, right? Because the original, when you first learn about roots, we talk about square root. So when you do not put a number there, it is the square root. So a denominator of 2 means there's no number in the root. Any other denominator, you would actually put a number there. So this number 4 and number 5 should be like the easy points on the quiz. Because for letter A, all you have to do is the denominator becomes the root and the numerator becomes the power. So if you look at letter B, it's the parentheses 6x to the 3/2. So we could just keep it in parentheses. And remember what I said up here, if the 2 is the denominator, we do not need to put the 2 there. And that's it. Now, letter C, once again, we do not need to put the square root there. Sorry, we do not need to put the 2 there, but this does mean the square root of y to the 5th. And then the last one should be pretty simple. The 7 goes here, and we take it to the 3rd power, right? So for number 5, you should be able to also go backwards. If you know here that the power is 6 and there's no number here, that means the denominator is 2. So this would be x to the 6 over 2. But you could actually simplify 6 divided by 2. This would be x to the 3rd. Okay. Letter B, simple, x to the 4 over 9. So like I said, those should be the easier questions on the quiz, right? If you just know how it switches. So now I'm actually going to go back to number 3. So number 3, which of the following are equivalent to m to the 8th power? Right? So m to the 4 times m squared. Remember that you actually add the exponents here. So this is m to the 6th. I know some people see the multiplication and they want to multiply the 4 times 2. But if you're multiplying with the same base, the exponents get added. For letter B, this is when you multiply the exponents. When it's power to a power, this is m to the 15th. So that doesn't work either. Now, for letter C, remember we just did this below. If I'm going to write this as a fraction, this is 14 over 2. 14 divided by 2 is 7, so this is m to the 7th. That's not an answer choice. Letter D, m to the 12th, m to the negative 4. Once again, I add the exponents. So 12 plus negative 4 is m to the 8th. So this is definitely an answer choice here. Letter E, 1 over m to the negative 8. I flip remember, negative exponents means it goes to the top. So this is just m to the 8. So this is an answer. Letter F, m squared times m squared times m to the third. So once again, this is just like letter A, except you just have an extra term, but I add the exponents on top. 2 plus 2 plus 3 is m to the 7th. So that one doesn't work. G, m to the negative 8. I flip it because there's a negative exponent. That doesn't work. And then for letter H, once again, if you are dividing, you subtract the exponent. So 2 minus 12 is m to the negative 10. And if I flip it, so 1 over m to the 10th. And that's not the case. So there were only two answers here. Before we move on, I do want to point out something that hasn't been stated here. Like, let's say for number 3, I had m to the 4th, m to the 3rd, and m. Remember that if a variable does not have an exponent, the exponent is 1. So m to the 4th, m to the 3, m, this 4 plus 3 plus 1, this would be m to the 8th. Because remember, there's an imaginary 1 when there's no exponent. A lot of people tend to think that's 0, but it is 1. Then, number 6, this is where you were evaluating rational exponents. So remember, you are doing two things here. You are taking the root and then you are doing the power. Always do the root first. You really can do whichever one you want, but it's always easier to do the root. So for letter A, the first thing they're asking you to do is take the cube root of 8. So what number multiplied by itself 3 times is 8? Well, that's just 2, right? So the cube root of 8 is 2, and so this is 2 to the 4th. And then so 2 to the 4th is just going to be 16, right? 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. So letter B is the square root of 25 to the 3rd. So once again, you take the square root first. Always do the root first. So what's the square root of 25? That's 5. And then so now I take 5 to the 3rd. 5 to the 3rd is 5 times 5 times 5. 125. Now, for letter C, it's written in fraction form. So if you want, I know some people prefer it to be written in this radical form so you know what's happening. So now it's easy to picture in your head. You're taking the 4th root of 81, and then you're taking it to the power of 3. So the 4th root of 81, remember that 3 to the 4th is 81. 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 3 is 27, and 27 times 3 is 81. So the 4th root of 81 is 3. And then so now it's just 3 to the 3rd. This is 27. And then letter D, I am taking the square root of 36 to the 5th power. So the square root of 36 is 6. And then so now I just take 6 to the 5th power, and I don't know what that is, so I'll do that on the calculator. That is 7,776. Okay. Okay, so last thing, number 7. We just went over this week, so hopefully it's fresh in your mind. This is where you have to change the base to get the same, you have to change the equation so that they have the same base. So if you look at 32 and 16, they are both powers of 2. Remember that 2 to the 4th is 16, and 2 to the 5th is 32. So I'm going to rewrite this equation as 2 to the 5th is equal to 2 to the 4th, x plus 4. So if you remember that you need to keep the original exponents, so the x plus 4 stays there. You're just changing 16 to 2 to the 4th. Remember, the next step after this is you are going to multiply the exponent when it's power to a power. So this is 2 to the 5th, 2 to the 4x plus 16. Now that the bases are the same, we set the exponents equal to each other. Now I'm just going to go ahead and solve this like I normally would. So negative 11 is equal to 4x. Divide both sides by 4. And x is equal to negative 11 over 4. I can't divide 11 divided by 4. I can't simplify it either. So that's it. Okay. Letter B, I want to show you a common mistake that a lot of people, not a lot of people, but some people made on the homework for this assignment. So a lot of people realize that 125 is 5 to the 3rd. Right? So what's going to happen here is I rewrite 125 as 5 to the 3rd. But since this already had an exponent of 3, I still have to put a 3 here. Okay. So Rodney, this was the notes that I was talking about that I put on your homework. You tended to forget to put this exponent outside. You realize that 5 to the 3rd is 125, but you forgot that you have to keep the original exponent as well. Okay. So if I multiplied the exponents, this just becomes 5 to the x is 5 to the 9th. And so now I could just set x is equal to 9. Letter C, I have 27 to the 2x plus 6 is equal to 3 to the 2x. So you can see here that 27 is a power of 3. Remember that 3 to the 3rd is 27. 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 3 is 27. So I could rewrite 27 as 3 to the 3rd. Okay. I don't need to change that 3 on the right because that already has the same base here. And so once again, I multiply the exponents. And then now that the bases are the same, we just set the exponents equal to each other. So this is going to be 6x plus 18 is equal to 2x. And then now I'm just going to go ahead and move my x's to one side. So 18 is equal to negative 4x. Divide both sides by negative 4. And then, so x is equal to, I can't divide 18 by 4, but I could simplify it by 2. So x is equal to negative 9/2. And then last one, letter D. So same idea. I could rewrite 16. Remember that 4 squared is equal to 16. So this is going to be 4 to the x plus 2. And I rewrite 16 as 4 squared. And I keep the exponent there. And then now distribute the so it's 2x minus 6. Now that they have the same base, x plus 2 is equal to 2x minus 6. And now it just becomes a simple equation. So 2 is equal to x minus 6. And I just add 6 to both sides. Then 8 is equal to x. Okay, so that's it. You don't really have an assignment for the rest of the week. You don't need to turn in the study guide. I will probably post an extra practice either later today or tomorrow. If you have any other questions, just email me. A quiz will be on Monday at 2 o'clock. It will be timed. I just don't know the time yet. It might just be, I don't know, 30 minutes or something like that. Any other questions?